The lark of summer had arrived in the bleak lands of Eriador, yet it was the perfect day for mischief and adventure for young Dane Thornfoot. Amidst the bustling activities of Bree, where the mingling of men, hobbits, dwarves, and an occasional elf added color to the otherwise drab setting, Dane sat beneath the chestnuts tree beside his cozy home, nibbling at a pie scrumptiously baked by his mother. The warm aroma filled the air, mingling with the pitter-patter of feet as villagers moved about their chores. Dane Thornfoot was a stout young hobbit, and like all hobbits, he had an insatiable fancy for stories and surprises. His carefree life was often punctuated with little adventures, but tales of the adventures of Bilbo Baggins in faraway lands had always left him yearning for something more than the daily clinking of mugs at the prancing pony or the rhythmic hum of farm work. One bleak evening, as Dane was preparing to retire, a rover in a makeshift cloak scuttling across the dimly lit lane pricked up his curiosity. The rover's eyes were dark, and his demeanor sneered menace. But Dane could not resist. The thought of uncovering a mystery stirred something deep within him. Who could this be? And what brings him to Bree? He pondered, a clammy sensation gripping his heart. He grabbed his pack, where he always kept some crunchable snacks, and wade out into the night, peering into the shadows, following the noise of foiling and jabbering that came from a shadowy figure scurrying into an alley beside the town's market. Dane rocked himself on his heels, deliberating whether to follow. He decided quickly and ventured further into the night. In the faint whirl of the stars, Dane saw the figure stooping near an old well. The well had long been abandoned, shadows of eerie legend surrounding it. The rover pulled a pouch from his belt and thrust it into the well, gibbering something unintelligible. Intrigued, Dane leaned closer, his heart pounding so loud he feared it would betray his presence. Just as the rover spun around to leave, he locked eyes with the hidden hobbit. With a snarl, the stranger jumped toward Dane, but the young hobbit was quick, scuttling off into deeper shadows. As Dane caught his breath, the realization dawned on him that he needed help. Gathering his courage, he rushed to the prancing pony, where Gandalf the Grey was known to frequent. Gandalf must be here, he thought, clammy hands clutching the railing, heart racing. The common room was bustling with patrons, and through the smoke and firelight, he spotted the wizard. "Gandalf!" he cried, dangling at the edge of panic. The wizard turned, his penetrating gaze honing in on the frightened hobbit. In a few concise words, Dane relayed what he had seen. Gandalf's expression grew grave. "This is concerning, Dane," he said, and rising swiftly, he instructed the innkeeper to secure the doors. "We must investigate this matter immediately." Their investigation led them back to the old well. With Gandalf's staff casting a gentle glow, they peered into the depths. Gold coins, darkened with age, shimmered faintly at the bottom. "These are ancient spoils," Gandalf explained, "left here long before Bree was settled by men. They must not fall into the wrong hands." Determined to uncover more, they decided to lower themselves into the well. Dane, despite his jitters, agreed to accompany Gandalf. With a makeshift harness, Dane was first to descend, his petite frame slipping easily into the well's narrow opening. "Hold tight," Gandalf advised, as he joined Dane beneath the earth's surface. Scuttling about, they made their way through a winding passage. As they crept deeper, they heard the faint sound of flip-flapping walking. The tunnel opened into a small chamber, and there, near the far wall, they spotted a hive of goblins. The goblins were curdling their meals, jabbering away in their language. Dane's heart raced as he peered through the darkness, but Gandalf gestured for silence, then pointed to the ceiling. Hanging ominously from above were several fangs, large and dangerous looking. "These creatures are feeding off whatever they capture," Gandalf whispered, voice like ice. "We must be stealthy." The din of goblin voices echoed around, forcing Dane and Gandalf to keep low. They managed to avoid the squirming bodies, but just as they approached the far side of the chamber, Dane snagged his foot on a protruding root, causing a scuffle. Instantly, goblin eyes turned their way. With a menacing growl, they charged. Gandalf raised his staff, and a blinding light filled the chamber. forcing the goblins to halt their advance. "Run, Dane!" Gandalf commanded as he fought off the goblin horde. Dane obeyed, scuttling off, maneuvering through the narrow passage until he reached the safety of the well's base. Wriggling through the opening, he was relieved to see the night sky again, the stars twinkling faintly above. Once up, Gandalf joined him, looking remarkably composed despite the encounter. "We must warn Bree and the Rangers," Gandalf said. "There's no telling how many goblins are lurking about." With the warning conveyed to the townsfolk, Bree quickly transformed into a station of defense. The threat of goblins led to makeshift barricades at every entrance. The youth, like Dane, watched from behind secure walls, thorns and arrows readied to chase intruders. Days dwindling into weeks, the town remained on high alert, but no further attacks followed. It seemed the goblins, despite their numbers, had been cowed by Gandalf's light or had found other, easier prey. As peace gradually returned, the brave deed of young Dane Thornfoot became a story told in hushed admiration over crunchable pies and pints of brew, the echoes of his fancy for adventure transmuting into a legacy among the hobbits of Bree. Reflecting on his journey, Dane felt a swell of pride. His courage had foiled a potential disaster, and though the goblins might skate the edges of memory, the camaraderie and vigilance the episode fostered bound the community more tightly than before. Thus ended one chapter of Dane's adventures, a tale nestled among others in the rich tapestry of Middle-earth.